Captain Thomas Reed rubbed his tired eyes as he reviewed reports in his quarters aboard the United Earth Defense Fleet vessel, Relentless. The ship hummed softly around him, its metal frame carrying 400 men and women through the darkness of space. Reed had been captain for 3 years now. He was a tall man with short brown hair and eyes that had seen more of the universe than most humans ever would. A sharp beep from his desk terminal broke the silence. Reed tapped the flashing icon. "Captain, this is Ward from Communications. You need to hear this." Reed straightened in his chair. Lisa Ward never called him directly unless it was important. "Go ahead." "Sir, we've picked up a distress signal. It's coming from deep space, well beyond our patrol zone." "Council territory?" Reed asked. The Galactic Council controlled most of the charted systems. Humans were newcomers, barely tolerated and always watched. "Yes, sir. Very deep in Council space. The signal is weak and uses an old emergency protocol. It's been broadcasting for weeks. Based on the degradation pattern," Reed frowned. "If it's in Council space, why hasn't anyone responded?" "That's why I called you directly, sir. I checked with Central Command. They say the Council is aware of the signal, but has officially classified the situation as too hazardous for intervention." "Too hazardous?" Reed's frown deepened. "Forward the signal to my terminal. I want to hear it myself." The sound that played was broken and distorted, but Reed could make out words between bursts of static. "Anyone, please help. Mining platforms destroying. Not much time. Environment too harsh for. Council abandoned us. Please." Reed listened to it 3 times. Each time, the desperation in the voice made his stomach tighten. "Where exactly is this coming from, Ward?" "A system designated KX-419. It's a red dwarf with 6 planets. The signal is coming from the 3rd one." Reed pulled up the stellar database. KX-419 was far from normal space lanes. The planetary data made him understand the Council's hesitation. The 3rd planet had crushing gravity nearly twice Earth's strength, constant radiation that would kill most Council species within hours, and an atmosphere filled with caustic compounds. But these conditions, while dangerous, weren't immediately fatal to humans. Earth itself was classified as a death world by Council standards, a planet so harsh that it was a miracle anything evolved there at all. Humans had evolved under higher gravity, more radiation, and more environmental threats than most Council species ever faced. Reed made his decision. He left his quarters and walked to the bridge. The night shift crew stood straighter as he entered. "Get me Admiral Diaz," Reed ordered. Minutes later, the stern face of the Admiral appeared on the main screen. Reed explained the situation. "Absolutely not," Diaz said when Reed finished. "The Council has made their decision. This isn't our territory or our problem. With respect, Admiral, someone is dying out there. The signal is clear. Captain Reed, may I remind you that humans are still on probationary status with the Council. We've only had galactic recognition for 6 years. Any unauthorized mission into Council space could jeopardize everything we've worked for." Reed stood his ground. "Those people will die if no one responds, and we both know why the Council won't go. They physically can't handle the conditions. We can." "That's exactly the kind of thinking that makes them nervous about us," Diaz countered. "They call us Death Worlders, like it's a disease, not an adaptation. Playing into that stereotype won't help our standing. So we let people die because we're worried about politics?" A long silence followed. Reed could see the conflict in the Admiral's eyes. Finally, Diaz spoke quietly. "Listen to me very carefully, Captain. I am officially ordering you to maintain your assigned patrol route. I am officially noting that any deviation would be against direct orders. I am officially warning you that Earth will disavow any knowledge of your actions if you're caught in Council space without authorization." Reed understood what wasn't being said. "Understood, Admiral." "And unofficially," Diaz added, his voice even lower, "if you were to have communication difficulties that prevented you from receiving this order, well, the Relentless is overdue for maintenance on its long-range communication systems." The screen went dark. Reed turned to his bridge. Crew, who had heard everything. "Well," he said, "it seems we're about to experience some unfortunate communication problems. Navigation, plot a course to the KX-419 system, maximum speed. The navigation officer hesitated. Sir, that's well outside our patrol zone. I'm aware. This is completely voluntary. I won't order anyone to participate in this mission. It could end all our careers, or worse if the Council decides to make an example of us. If anyone wants to register an objection, now is the time. Reed looked around the bridge. No one spoke. Sir, said Jack Morris, the tactical officer, breaking the silence. If not us, then who? Reed nodded, feeling a surge of pride. Thank you. Now let's make this official for the log. Communications Officer Ward, please confirm our communication systems are experiencing difficulties receiving transmissions from Command. Ward's fingers moved across her console. Confirmed, Captain. I estimate repairs will take at least 2 weeks. Noted. And how unfortunate that our navigation system has suffered a temporary fault that's taken us off course. The navigation officer smiled slightly. Very unfortunate, sir. The system seems to be directing us toward coordinates in the KX-419 system. Engineering, Reed called out. How fast can we get there? The chief engineer's voice came over the comm. If we push the engines to maximum 3 days, Captain. Do it. And prep our environmental suits for high gravity, radiation, and atmospheric toxins. As the Relentless changed course, Reed felt the weight of his decision. He was risking everything, his career, his ship, even Earth's standing with the Council. But as he listened to the distress call one more time, he knew he was making the right choice. Hold on, he whispered to the unknown voice in the message. We're coming. The Relentless accelerated, pushing its engines beyond recommended limits. Inside, 400 men and women prepared for a rescue mission no one else would attempt. They were the children of Earth, a world that had forged their species through millions of years of survival against harsh conditions. They were Deathworlders, and they were answering the call. 3 days passed as the Relentless pushed through space at maximum speed. The ship's engines glowed hot, working harder than they were designed to. Captain Reed had barely slept, spending most of his time on the bridge or checking on his crew as they prepared for whatever awaited them. Dropping out of faster-than-light travel in 30 seconds, announced the navigation officer. Reed straightened in his command chair. All stations report status. Weapons ready, said Morris from Tactical. Communications clear, Ward confirmed. Medical bay prepped for possible casualties, came the doctor's voice over the comm. Engineering reports all systems functional, though the engines need a rest soon, added the chief engineer. Reed nodded. Sensors at maximum range. I want to know exactly what we're flying into. The ship slowed, stars becoming fixed points of light again as the Relentless entered the KX-419 system. The red dwarf star burned dimly at the center, its light casting a reddish glow across the bridge displays. Scanning the third planet now, said Ben Wilson, the science officer. His fingers moved quickly across his console as data streamed in, confirming previous data. Gravity is 1.8 times Earth standard. Radiation levels would be lethal to most Council species within hours. Atmosphere contains high levels of chlorine compounds and metallic particulates. Can our environmental suits handle those conditions? Reed asked. Wilson nodded. Yes, sir. They'll need to be set at maximum protection levels, and we shouldn't stay on the surface longer than 8 hours at a time. But it's within our survivable range. For us, Morris added quietly. Not for most Council species. No wonder they wouldn't respond. Reed studied the planet on the main screen. It was a reddish-brown world with small blue oceans and wispy clouds. Nothing about it looked inviting. Yet someone was down there calling for help. I'm detecting artificial structures on the surface, Wilson reported. Appears to be a small settlement near the equator. And something else. He frowned at his readings. 3 massive objects, each about the size of a small city, moving slowly across the landscape toward the settlement. Magnify, Reed ordered. The screen zoomed in, showing 3 enormous platforms crawling across the planet's surface on massive treads. Each platform carried mining equipment, processing facilities, and what looked like defensive systems. Those must be the mining platforms mentioned in the distress call, Reed said. They're heading straight for the settlement. Sir, I'm receiving the distress signal at much stronger levels now, Ward said. Someone's still alive down there. Open a channel. Ward worked her console. Channel open. Reed took a deep breath. This is Captain Thomas Reed of the Earth vessel Relentless. We've received your distress call and are here to help. Please respond. Seconds ticked by. Then a voice clearly surprised answered. Earth vessel? You actually came? No one else would respond. We're here now, Reed said firmly. What's your situation? My name is Nix. I speak for what remains of our colony. The mining platforms have destroyed half our settlement already. We have many wounded. The platforms aren't stopping for anything. They crush everything in their path. How many of your people are there? Reed asked. We numbered 200 when we established the colony. Now less than 150 remain. Nix's voice broke slightly. We tried to contact the platform operators, but they claim this world was designated for resource extraction. They know we're here, but say we have no right to be. Reed's jaw tightened. Are you saying they're deliberately killing your people? They say we're obstacles to legal mining operations. The platforms are automated. They were programmed to continue regardless of resistance. Maria Ryan, the environmental officer, looked up from her console in shock. That's murder, we appealed. To the council, Nix continued, but they ruled this a private dispute over unregistered territory. They said the environmental conditions made intervention unjustified, given the hazard to potential rescuers. The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. Can you tell us about your species, Nix? Reed asked. We want to make sure we can help you safely. We are Vetkari. We're refugees who fled persecution in the central systems. We chose this world precisely because its conditions are hostile to most species. We thought we would be left alone here. A bitter laugh came through the comm. We evolved on a world not unlike this one. High gravity, caustic atmosphere. To us it's home. Reed exchanged glances with Wilson. Fellow Deathworlders, the science officer muttered. Sir, Morris spoke up from Tactical. I've analyzed those platforms. They have defensive systems, designed to protect against environmental threats, not military assault. We could disable them. Reed considered this. Interfering with private mining operations, even to save lives, would be a major violation of Council non-intervention policies. But leaving these people to die wasn't an option. Nix, can you send us schematics of the platforms? Reed asked. Anything to help us understand what we're dealing with. Yes, transmitting now, Nix replied, hope entering their voice for the first time. Ward confirmed receipt of the data, sending it to tactical and science stations for analysis. One more question, Reed said. Why didn't the Council recognize your claim to this world? If you were here first, Nix's voice hardened. Because we are refugees without official status. The mining consortium that owns those platforms has Council connections. To them, we simply don't matter. Reed stood up, his decision made. Nix, we're going to help you. I need to know if there's a safe place near your settlement for us to land a shuttle. The shocked silence that followed spoke volumes. Finally, Nix responded, voice trembling. You would really risk yourselves for us? Strangers? Where we come from, Reed said simply. No call for help goes unanswered. He turned to his crew. Prepare landing parties. Environmental suits at maximum protection. Morris, Ryan, Wilson, you'll each lead a team. I want options for disabling those platforms without destroying them completely. As the crew moved with purpose, Reed looked again at the red-brown world on the screen. The massive platforms crept closer to the remaining settlement structures. Sir, Ward called suddenly, I'm detecting a ship entering the system. Council, Registry. Reed's expression darkened. Their unofficial mission had just become much more complicated. Looks like we have company, he said. Let's just hope they're not here to stop us from doing what's right. Council ship is hailing us, Ward announced, tension in her voice. Reed straightened his uniform. Put them through. The main screen flickered, revealing a thin, tall alien with pale blue skin and large, unblinking eyes. Reed recognized the species as Talari, one of the older council races known for strict adherence to regulations. Human vessel, the Talari official said coldly. You are in violation of council space. Your presence here is unauthorized. Withdraw immediately. Reed kept his face neutral. This is Captain Thomas Reed of the Earth vessel Relentless. We're responding to a distress signal as required by Galactic Navigation Statute 47B. The Council has already ruled on this matter, the Talari countered. The environmental conditions of this world make intervention an unnecessary risk. You will leave now. Reed's jaw tightened. With respect, my ship and crew are fully capable of operating in these conditions. The signal clearly indicates lives are in danger. This is a territorial dispute, not an emergency. The mining consortium has legal claims to this world. And the people already living here? Reed asked pointedly. The Talari's expression didn't change. Unauthorized settlers without recognized status. This is your final warning, Captain. Withdraw, or we will report this violation to your government. The screen went dark before Reed could respond. That went well, Morris said dryly. Reed turned to his crew. We don't have much time. Let's make it count. He activated the ship's internal comm. All team leaders to the briefing room immediately. 10 minutes later, Reed stood at the head of the briefing room table. Morris, Ryan, and Wilson sat with 5 other officers, all studying the platform schematics sent by the Vetkari. The situation is simple, Reed began. 3 mining platforms are destroying the Vetkari settlement. We need to stop them without causing a major diplomatic incident. Wilson tapped his tablet, projecting a 3D model of one platform above the table. Each platform is essentially a moving city. They're automated with minimal crew, mostly technicians who stay in protected central areas. Defensive capabilities? Morris asked. Substantial, but not military grade, Wilson replied. They're designed to protect against environmental threats. Radiation shields, reinforced structures for high gravity, filtration systems for the atmosphere. They have security drones and some weapons, but those are meant for clearing obstacles, not fighting off attackers. Ryan pointed to specific sections of the model. The platforms have 3 key vulnerabilities. First, the control centers where all operations are managed. Second, the power distribution nodes. Third, the tread mechanisms themselves. Reed nodded. We can't simply destroy these platforms. That would be an act of sabotage against private property. But we can temporarily disable them, giving the Vetkari time to evacuate or negotiate. Sir, said Morris, time is critical. Those platforms will reach the main settlement in less than 6 hours. Then we move now, Reed decided. 3 teams, 1 for each platform. Morris, you'll lead Alpha Team. Ryan, you'll lead Beta Team. Wilson, you'll lead Gamma Team. I'll coordinate from the Relentless with Ward handling communications. What about the council ship? Ryan asked. They'll almost certainly try to stop us, Reed acknowledged. But they'll be focused on the Relentless, not our shuttlecraft. We'll use that to our advantage. The door to the briefing room slid open, and a crew member ushered in 3 Vetkari, who had been transported up from the surface. Their appearance surprised the humans. The Vetkari were shorter than humans but stocky, with thick gray-green skin that looked tough like leather. Their eyes were large and dark, adapted for the dim light of their red dwarf sun. Captain Reed, said the lead Vetkari, stepping forward. I am Nix. These are my advisors, Lear and Tav. We came to help however we can. Reed offered a respectful nod. Thank you for coming. We're planning our approach to the platforms now. Nix moved to the holographic display. We've tried to approach the platforms before seeking to negotiate. We know their layouts. The Vetkari pointed to specific sections. But you should know that the consortium likely installed deadman switches. If they detect tampering, they might accelerate their operations. What do you mean? Ryan asked. The platforms have different destruction modes, explained Lear, the second Vetkari. The normal mode is methodical, processing everything as they go. But they can switch to rapid clearance mode, where they simply destroy, without processing, resources. Wilson frowned. So if we're detected, they could speed up and flatten the entire colony before we complete our mission. Exactly, Nick said grimly. Reed considered this new information. Then stealth is essential, at least initially. Once we begin our operation, we'll need to hit all 3 platforms simultaneously. We can guide your teams, offered Tav, the third, Fetkari. We know paths that might avoid security sensors. That would be invaluable, Reed said. But you need to understand the risks. The gravity, radiation, and atmosphere already push our environmental suits to their limits. For a non-human physiology, Nix made a sound that might have been a laugh. Captain, this is our home environment. We need no suits. Where you see danger, we see normal conditions. It is one reason we chose this world. Few others could follow us here. Morris grinned. Fellow Deathworlders indeed. Reed began assigning crew members to teams. Each would take a shuttle to a different platform. Alpha Team under Morris would target the platform's control center, attempting to reprogram its approach vector. Beta Team with Ryan would focus on the power systems, creating a temporary shutdown. Gamma Team led by Wilson would disable the tread mechanisms. Remember, Reed emphasized, this is a rescue mission, not an attack. Minimum force. Our goal is to save lives, not destroy property. What about the council ship? Ward asked from her communication station. I'll handle them, Reed said. Once your teams launch, I'll position the Relentless between the council vessel and the planet. They'll have to go through us to stop you. As the teams prepared to depart, alarms suddenly blared through the ship. Sir, Ward called urgently. 2 more council vessels just entered the system. And I'm picking up transmissions. The mining consortium has been alerted. They're sending security forces. Reed's expression hardened. How long until they arrive? The security forces? About 8 hours. The additional council ships will be here in 20 minutes. Reed looked at his team leaders, then at the Fetkari representatives. The situation was deteriorating quickly, but his resolve remained firm. Our window is closing, he said. Teams, prepare for immediate deployment. This just got a lot more complicated, but our mission hasn't changed. Those people down there need our help, and we're going to provide it. As the officers rushed to their stations, Reed heard Nick speaking quietly to Lear in their own language. He caught just enough of the translation through his comm unit. They really are different from the others, aren't they? Yes, Lear replied. They actually care. Reed turned to the viewing window, looking down at the red-brown planet. Soon, his crew would be down there, risking everything to save people they'd never met before today. He felt a surge of pride. Let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders do when lives are on the line, he said. 3 shuttles dropped from the Relentless like falling stars, racing toward the planet's surface. Inside each, human team members checked their environmental suits one final time. The suits were bulky but necessary, designed to withstand the crushing gravity, radiation, and caustic atmosphere. Jack Morris sat in the lead shuttle with Alpha Team, 5 crew members and the Fetkari guide Lear beside him. Everyone remember the plan, he said over the comm. We get in, we reprogram the control center, we get out. No heroics. 30 seconds to landing, called the pilot. Morris felt the shuttle shudder as it hit the atmosphere. Outside the viewports, the air glowed red from friction. He glanced at Lear, who seemed completely calm despite the violent descent. Your first space jump? Morris asked. Lear's tough skin crinkled in what might have been a smile. Yes, it's exciting. That's one word for it, Morris replied as the shuttle jolted again. In the second shuttle, Maria Ryan and Beta Team braced for landing. Their Fetkari guide, Tav, pointed at the approaching mining platform visible through the viewport. We should land there, Tav said, indicating a maintenance area. Less security sensors. Ryan nodded and relayed the coordinates to her pilot. Remember, everyone, this platform houses the main control node. If we can reprogram it, we might be able to stop all 3 platforms at once. The third shuttle, carrying Ben Wilson and Gamma Team, took a different approach. Their target was the furthest platform, and their mission involved the most risk, traversing the external structure through highly radioactive zones to reach the tread mechanisms. Latest readings show radiation spikes near our entry point, Wilson told his team. Suits should handle it, but don't linger longer than necessary. Their Vetkari guide, a female named Pax, touched Wilson's arm. My people will help carry your equipment. The gravity will be harder on you than on us. Wilson nodded gratefully. The Vetkari had evolved in this harsh environment. What was deadly to most species was home to them. Above the planet, the Relentless faced its own challenges. 3 council ships now surrounded Reed's vessel, all broadcasting warnings and threats. Human vessel, you are violating council directive, came the Talari's voice. Your shuttles must return immediately, or we will be forced to take action. Reed stood firm on his bridge. Our mission is humanitarian in nature. Any attempt to interfere with a rescue operation violates Galactic Navigation Statute 47B, Section 12. Those are mining platforms, not weapons, the Talari insisted. You have no right to interfere with legal resource extraction. Resource extraction doesn't include killing innocent people, Reed countered. He turned to Ward. Cut the transmission. Position us between the council ships and the planet. They'll have to go through us to reach our teams. On the surface, Alpha Team made their landing. The moment the shuttle doors opened, Morris felt the increased gravity pulling at him. Each step in his environmental suit required twice the effort it would on Earth. Stay close, Lear told them, moving with natural ease across the rocky surface. The platform is just over this ridge. When they crested the hill, the true scale of the mining platform became apparent. It was enormous, stretching for nearly a kilometer in each direction, with massive treads crushing everything in its path. Mechanical arms extended from its sides, ripping into the ground and buildings alike. There. Lear pointed to a maintenance hatch on the platform's lower level. We can enter there. Morris led his team forward. The caustic atmosphere swirled around their suits, occasionally making the external sensors flicker. As they reached, the platform's security drones appeared, floating spheres with scanning beams. Down! Morris hissed, pulling Lear behind a boulder. The team froze as the drones passed overhead. Once clear, they sprinted the final distance to the hatch. Lear worked quickly to override the lock, and the team slipped inside. Meanwhile, Beta team faced different challenges. They had landed directly on their platform's upper deck, a risky move that saved time but left them exposed. Security drones converged immediately. Defensive positions, Ryan ordered as her team took cover behind processing equipment. One drone fired, the beam striking a crew member's suit. The material held, but warning lights flashed on his display. Ryan took careful aim with her disabler, a non-lethal weapon designed to overload electronic systems. She fired and the drone dropped to the deck. The control center is through that corridor, Tav said, pointing. We must hurry. They know we're here now. Ryan nodded grimly. The platform's already accelerating. Its destruction sequence, look, she pointed to the edge of the platform, where the massive mechanical arms were now moving faster, tearing through the landscape with increased ferocity. Gamma Team had the most treacherous approach. Their target platform was processing a highly radioactive mineral deposit, making the external surface dangerous even with their suits. Radiation levels rising, warned one of Wilson's crew. We're approaching the safety threshold. Wilson checked his own readings. We can handle it for 10 minutes. That's all we need to reach the tread controls. They moved along a narrow maintenance walkway on the platform's exterior. 2 crew members' suits began to malfunction from the radiation exposure. I can't continue, one gasped, her suit beeping alarms. Systems failing. Wilson made a quick decision. Fall back to the shuttle. Pax, can you guide them? The Vetkari shook her head. If you disable the wrong system, the entire platform could explode. I must show you which controls to target. Wilson looked at his struggling team members, then at the mission objective ahead. Without hesitation, he moved to the first crew member and hoisted her onto his back. What are you doing? She asked weakly. No one gets left behind, Wilson grunted. the extra weight nearly crushing in the high gravity. Thomas, can you help the other? The strongest member of his team nodded, supporting their other struggling companion. This is madness, Pax said, awe in her voice. The radiation, the gravity. Just show us the way, Wilson replied, sweat already soaking his suit's internal lining. On the Relentless, Reed watched tensely as the situation deteriorated. The Council ships had positioned weapon systems. Sir, Ward called urgently, there's another transmission coming in. It's not from the Council ships. Reed frowned. Put it through. The screen showed a well-dressed human man with cold eyes. Captain Reed, I'm Director Vance of Planetary Resources Corporation. Those platforms you're interfering with belong to my company. Your platforms are killing innocent people, Reed replied evenly. Unauthorized settlers, Vance corrected. This matter can be resolved simply. What's your price, Captain? Name it. Credits, promotion, a new ship, perhaps? The bridge fell silent as everyone turned to Reed. Humans aren't for sale, Reed said coldly. Not when lives are at stake. Vance's expression hardened. Then you leave me no choice. My security forces will treat your people as hostile intruders. The consequences are on your head, Captain. As the transmission ended, Reed received urgent updates from all three teams. Alpha Team had reached the control center but was meeting heavy resistance. Beta Team had found the main control node, but discovered it was more complex than expected. Gamma Team was struggling with the radiation but still moving forward. Sir, Ward said quietly. The Council ships are charging weapons. Reed looked at the tactical display, then at the planet below where his people risked everything for strangers in need. Hold position, he ordered, and open a channel to all ships in the system. It's time everyone heard exactly what's happening here. This is Captain Thomas Reed of the Earth vessel Relentless. Reed's voice echoed across all communication channels in the system. I am broadcasting evidence of what's happening on the planet below. He nodded to Ward, who began transmitting footage from the team's helmet cameras. The images showed the mining platforms destroying the Vetkari settlement, crushing homes and community buildings without pause. These platforms are killing innocent people, Reed continued. The Vetkari sent distress calls for weeks, but were ignored because their world was deemed too hazardous for rescue. Inside the control center of the first platform, Morris and Alpha Team fought their way past security drones. Lear moved ahead, guiding them through the maze of corridors. The main console is through here, Lear called, pointing to a sealed door. 2 crew members placed small devices on the door's locking mechanism. A soft pulse disabled the electronics and the door slid open. Inside, technicians turned in surprise. Nobody move, Morris ordered, holding up his disabler. We're not here to hurt anyone. We just need to stop this platform. One brave technician lunged for an alarm panel. Morris fired his disabler, dropping the man to the floor unconscious. Anyone else? Morris asked. The remaining technicians raised their hands. Lear rushed to the main console. We can reprogram the platform's course from here, but it will take time. Time we don't have, Morris said, looking at his tactical display. Security forces are converging on our position. On the second platform, Ryan and Beta Team had reached the central control node. Tav examined the complex system. This controls all 3 platforms, Tav explained. They're linked to maximize efficiency. Ryan studied the system. Then we don't need to disable them. We just need to reprogram them. She turned to her team's computer specialist. Can you change their primary directives? The specialist nodded, fingers already moving across his portable interface. I can make them recognize the colony as protected infrastructure rather than obstacles. Do it, Ryan ordered. On the third platform, Wilson and Gamma Team had finally reached the tread control systems despite the crushing gravity and radiation. Wilson gently set down his injured crew member, his muscles screaming from the effort. Which controls, Pax? He gasped, sweat pouring down his face inside his helmet. The Vetkari pointed to a specific panel. These regulate the tread speed. We can't stop them completely without triggering alarms, but we can slow them to a crawl. Wilson nodded and began working on the panel. His radiation counter beeped insistently. They were well beyond safe exposure levels now. In orbit, the standoff intensified. The Council ships maintained weapons lock on the Relentless, but held their fire as Reed's broadcast continued. If enforcing, your laws means letting innocent people die because you're afraid of a little radiation and gravity, then your laws need changing, Reed declared. We're not leaving until these people are safe. His broadcast reached beyond the immediate vessels. Other ships in nearby systems picked it up. The footage of the platforms destroying homes while the Vetkari fled couldn't be ignored. Unexpectedly, one of the Council captains broke ranks. "This is Captain Dren of the Morvari vessel Distant Light," came a new voice. "My people were once refugees too before we joined the Council." The Morvari ship moved, positioning itself alongside the Relentless. "Captain Reed is right. We've forgotten what matters." Reed nodded in appreciation. "Thank you, Captain Dren." On the second platform, Ryan's team faced a critical moment. The computer specialist looked up from his work. "I've found something," he said urgently. "Data proving the consortium knew the planet was inhabited when they deployed the platforms. They falsified their resource survey to hide the Vetkari presence." "That's a direct violation of Council law," Tav said, voice rising with excitement. Ryan smiled grimly. "Download everything. This evidence changes everything." At that moment, all three platforms suddenly halted their advance. The mechanical arms stopped mid-swing, frozen in place. "What happened?" Ryan asked. "The reprogramming worked," the specialist explained. "The platforms are confused. Their primary directives are now in conflict. They can't process resources while protecting infrastructure, so they've defaulted to a standby mode." On the first platform, Morris and his team watched in amazement as the security drones returned to their docking stations. "Beta team did it," Morris breathed. "They reprogrammed the whole system." Lear touched his arm, voice filled with emotion. "You stopped them. You actually stopped them. The consortium security forces arrived, ships entering the system with weapons ready. But they found themselves facing not just the Relentless but now two Council vessels. The Morvari ship had been joined by another that had switched sides after seeing Reed's broadcast. Director Vance appeared on Reed's screen again, his face twisted with anger. "This is an outrage. Those platforms cost billions. Your government will pay for this interference." Reed remained calm. "I think you'll find your legal position has weakened considerably, Director. We've discovered your falsified surveys. You knew the Vetkari were there all along." Vance's face paled slightly. "The Council takes a dim view of attempted genocide," Reed continued, "especially when it's hidden behind resource claims." As the teams returned to their shuttles, the Vetkari gathered to see them off. Nix approached Reed, who had come to the surface once the immediate danger passed. "You risked everything for people you didn't know, who had nothing to offer in return," Nix said, voice filled with wonder. Reed looked around at the settlement. Parts destroyed, but many structures still standing. More importantly, the people were alive. "That's what humans do," Reed replied simply. "Where we come from, no call for help goes unanswered." 1 month later, the Relentless returned to Earth. Reed and his crew expected court-martials and the end of their careers. Instead, they found themselves welcomed as heroes. Their actions had sparked something unexpected. The Vetkari had been granted official recognition as refugees, and their world declared a protected territory. More significantly, the Council had been forced to revise its classification system. The term Deathworlder remained, but its meaning had changed. What was once considered a stigma had become a mark of respect. On the bridge of the Relentless, Reed received new orders. Earth was establishing a dedicated emergency response fleet, and he was being offered command. Its mission, to answer distress calls throughout the galaxy regardless of politics or danger. "What should we call this new fleet, Captain?" Ward asked. Reed looked at the stars on his view screen and smiled. "Humanity's promise." As the news spread across the galaxy, a new saying began to circulate among the smaller, vulnerable species of the Council. "When all hope is lost, call the Deathworlders. They'll come." The stars twinkled coldly in the vast emptiness of space. Among them, a small signal traveled, weak and desperate. It bounced between stars and planets, passing by advanced civilizations without much notice. The signal came from Terex, a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. Its people were dying. They had been sending this cry for help for years. But the great space nations of the Galactic Concord did not care. They looked at where the signal came from, saw it was near Earth, and turned away. "Another message from the Outer Rim," said Regent Lore, a thin, tall being with skin that seemed almost see-through. He sat in the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Concord. Around him, representatives from 50 advanced planets nodded in boredom. "From where exactly?" asked Delegate Prim, her 6 eyes blinking slowly. "Near the human sector," Lore replied. A quiet fell over the room. Humans. The word alone made many of them uncomfortable. "Then we shall not respond," said High Commander Vell, rising from his floating chair. "The signal is too close to Earth. Humans are dangerous. They come from a death world, high gravity, extreme weather, many predators. They are violent and unpredictable." Nobody argued. The Galactic Concord had decided long ago that Earth was too dangerous to deal with. Humans had tried to join the Concord 20 years ago, but they had been rejected for being too aggressive. Since then, Earth had kept to itself, and so the cry for help from Terex was filed away, forgotten by the gentle species of the galaxy who had never known real danger or hardship. Commander Jack Reynolds stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Horizon, staring at the star map. He was tall for a human, with broad shoulders and dark hair starting to gray at the temples. His face showed the marks of someone who had seen battle but still believed in doing good. "Commander, we're picking up a signal," said Communications Officer Lisa Grant, her fingers moving quickly over her screen. "It's weak, but it seems to be a distress call." Jack walked over to her station. "Can you clean it up?" Lisa worked for a few minutes, her face serious. "It's definitely a distress call, sir. Coming from a planet called Terex, about 3 days' journey from our position." Lieutenant Tom Walker, Jack's second-in-command, frowned. He was younger than Jack, with a practical mind that always focused on the mission. "Sir, we have orders to patrol the border. This isn't our problem." Jack looked at Tom, then back at the signal information. "Play it." The bridge speakers crackled. A voice came through, broken but clear enough. "Anyone, please help. Mining drones, killing our people. Galactic conquered. No response. Please." Silence fell on the bridge. Jack's jaw tightened. "The Concord got this message and did nothing?" he asked. Lisa checked her screen. "According to the metadata, sir, this signal has been broadcasting for over 2 years. The Concord acknowledged receipt 18 months ago." Jack's face darkened. "And they just ignored it." "Sir," Tom said firmly, "I understand how you feel, but we have our orders. Earth policy is clear. We keep to ourselves after how the Concord treated us." Jack looked around at his crew. 20 humans all watching him, waiting for his decision. He thought about Earth's policy of isolation, about the risks of helping aliens who might not even want human help, about the possible trouble with the Concord. Then he thought about the voice in that message. "Tom," Jack said quietly, "what did you do before joining the Earth fleet?" Tom looked surprised by the question. "I was a firefighter, sir, in Boston." "And if you heard someone calling for help from a burning building, would you stop to check? If they were from your district?" Tom's face flushed. "Of course not, sir." Jack nodded. "Exactly. It doesn't matter what the Concord thinks of us. It doesn't matter what Earth's official policy is right now. Someone is calling for help. We answer. That's what humans do." He turned to the navigation officer. "Plot a course to Terex." "Yes, sir," the officer replied, already entering the coordinates. Tom didn't argue further, but Jack could see he was worried. "Commander, if we do this, we're disobeying direct orders. This could cause problems with both Earth Command and the Concord." Jack placed a hand on Tom's shoulder. "Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules, Tom. I'll take full responsibility." Jack walked to the center of the bridge. "All hands, this is Commander Reynolds. We're changing course to investigate a distress signal from planet Terex, I know this isn't our assigned mission, but someone out there needs help and we're the only ones close enough to provide it. He paused, looking at each crew member. I won't force anyone to follow this course of action. If any of you feel you cannot participate in this rescue mission, I'll understand. No one spoke. No one moved. Lisa finally broke the silence. Sir, I think I speak for everyone when I say we're with you. If someone needs help and the almighty Concord is too busy to bother, then it's up to us Deathworlders to show them how it's done. A few crew members laughed. Jack smiled slightly and nodded. Thank you. Now let's see what's happening on Terex. As the Horizon changed course heading toward the distress signal, the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concord continued its meeting. The representatives discussed trade routes, cultural exchanges, and scientific discoveries. Not once did they mention Terex or its people. In a small monitoring station near the council chamber, a junior officer noticed something on his screen. Sir, he called to his supervisor. An Earth vessel has changed course. They appear to be responding to the Terex distress signal. The supervisor looked at the screen and frowned. Humans, he said with a sigh, always rushing into matters that don't concern them. Make a note of it, but don't bother the council. They're discussing important matters. The junior officer nodded and filed the report. One more document to be forgotten in the vast bureaucracy of the Galactic Concord. Meanwhile, the Horizon pushed its engines to maximum, racing toward Terex. Jack stood at the viewport watching the stars streak by. He didn't know what they would find at Terex. He didn't know if they could help. But he knew they had to try, because that was what humans did. They answered when someone called for help, no matter who was calling. The Horizon continued through space, carrying 20 humans toward an unknown danger, while the great powers of the galaxy ignored a planet's cry for help. In 3 days they would reach Terex and the galaxy would begin to learn why Deathworlders were not to be underestimated, not for their strength, but for their compassion. The Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash of blue light. In front of them floated Terex, a small planet with blue oceans and green land. From space, it looked peaceful, but as they got closer, the truth became clear. Scan the planet, Commander Jack ordered, his eyes fixed on the view screen. Lisa worked at her station, then looked up with a shocked face. Sir, I'm detecting large-scale mining operations, and, she paused, signs of destruction. Many cities are in ruins. Life signs? Jack asked. Yes, sir. About 30,000 beings, mostly gathered in a few protected areas. But there should be millions on a planet this size. Tom moved to stand beside Jack. Sir, I'm also picking up automated mining drones, hundreds of them. They're stripping the planet's resources. Jack's face hardened. Prepare a landing party. We need to make contact with the survivors and find out what's happening here. The shuttle landed in a clearing, near what seemed to be a refugee camp. The buildings were simple, made from whatever materials the people could find. As Jack stepped out of the shuttle with Tom and Lisa, he noticed the air was clean and sweet, the gravity slightly less than Earth's. Then he saw the inhabitants of Terex. They were tall, thin creatures with feather-like coverings on their bodies. They reminded Jack of birds, with delicate limbs and large, expressive eyes. When they saw the humans, they moved back in fear. One of them stepped forward. Unlike the others, this one showed no fear. It wore a simple robe decorated with shining stones, and around its neck hung a small device. I am Mari, the creature said through the device, which translated its musical speech into rough English. Elder of the Nixari. You are humans? The voice from the translator sounded surprised. Jack nodded. I'm Commander Jack Reynolds of the Earth vessel Horizon. We received your distress signal. Mari's large eyes blinked rapidly. The Concord said they would not send help. They said our situation was not critical enough. Jack felt anger rise in his chest but kept his voice calm. We're not from the Concord. Earth is not a member. We came on our own. Mari studied them, her head tilting in a bird-like manner. You are the Deathworlders, the dangerous ones. Tom shifted uncomfortably, but Jack just smiled. That's what they call us, yes. Mari made a sound that the translator didn't catch. Then perhaps the stories are wrong. Or perhaps they are right in ways the Concord does not understand. Please, follow me. Mari led them to a larger building where several Nixari were being treated for injuries. Their wounds looked like burns and cuts. The mining drones, Mari explained. They came 3 years ago. At first, they stayed in unpopulated areas, taking minerals from the mountains. We did not mind. Our planet has many resources to share. She walked to a map on the wall, showing the planet's surface. Large red areas covered much of it. But then they came closer to our cities. When we tried to speak with them, they attacked. They are machines, programmed to collect resources and remove obstacles. Her voice broke on the last word. Lisa looked, horrified. You mean your people are being killed because they're in the way of mining? Mari nodded. We are not warriors. The Nixari evolved in peace. We have no weapons, no armies. We sent messages to the Galactic Concord, begging for help. They acknowledged our message but said the situation required further study before action could be taken. Jack looked at the injured Nixari. Some had bandages over missing limbs. Others lay still, their breathing shallow. Who controls these? Drones, he asked. We do not know for certain, Mari replied, but we found this. She handed Jack a small metal plate with a logo. Vex Corp. Tom took the plate, studying it. Vex Corporation. I've heard of them. They operate outside Concord space, mining resources from uninhabited planets. Except this planet isn't uninhabited, Jack said coldly. He turned to Mari. How many of your people are left? Once we numbered 20 million, Mari said sadly. Now fewer than 30,000 remain. Many died when the drones destroyed our cities. Others from lack of food or medicine when our supply chains collapsed. Jack looked at his team, then back at Mari. We're going to help you. Commander, Tom whispered. We're only one ship. We don't have the resources for a full evacuation. Jack nodded. I know. But we can start by stopping those drones. Back on the horizon, Jack called a meeting of his senior crew. The situation is worse than we thought, he told them. These people are being wiped out by corporate mining drones, and the Galactic Concord is doing nothing. The ship's engineer, Robert Jones, spoke up. I've analyzed the drone activity. They're centrally controlled from a base on the planet's northern continent. Can we shut it down? Jack asked. Robert nodded. Yes, but we'll have to get past their security systems. And, sir, he hesitated. I've detected something else. The main mineral they're mining is traxium. A murmur went through the crew. Traxium was rare, used in the newest energy systems. Earth had been searching for a stable supply for years. So that's why they're here, Jack said. Traxium is worth billions. Lisa looked troubled. Sir, if Earth knew about this deposit... Jack understood her concern. Earth needed traxium. If the government knew about this planet, they might be tempted to claim it after the Nixari were gone. This stays between us for now, Jack decided. Our mission is to help these people, not steal their resources. The meeting was interrupted when a crew member rushed in. Sir, we've detected ships entering the system. Jack hurried to the bridge. On the screen, he saw 3 sleek vessels approaching. Concord ships? He asked. No, sir, replied the sensor officer. They're Vex Corporation security vessels, heavily armed. Jack watched as the ships took position around the planet. They must have detected us. They're coming to protect their investment. He turned to his crew. It looks like we've got a fight on our hands. The Nixari can't defend themselves and the Concord won't help them. That leaves us. Tom stood beside him. We're outnumbered, sir. Jack smiled grimly. That's nothing new for humans, is it? Contact the Nixari. Tell them we're going to need volunteers who want to learn how to fight. As the crew rushed to their stations, Jack looked again at the enemy ships. He had come to answer a distress call, and now he was about to go to war against a powerful corporation with only one ship. But as he glanced at the planet below, where the Nixari were fighting to survive, he knew he had no choice. Sometimes being human meant standing up when no one else would. Prepare for battle, he ordered, and send a message to Earth. Tell them we've made first contact with the Nixari, and that they need our help." The message from the horizon reached Earth in less than a day. In the grand meeting hall of the Earth Alliance in New Geneva, leaders from all nations gathered to hear Commander Jack's report. "These are the Nixari," Jack's recorded image said, showing pictures of the bird-like aliens. "Their planet is being destroyed by Vex Corporation mining drones. The Galactic Concord has ignored their calls for help for years. We are currently protecting them, but we are outnumbered. We request assistance." The hall was silent when the message ended. Then Admiral Diane Russell stood up. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen many battles. "We have confirmed that Commander Reynolds acted without orders," she said. "He was supposed to be on patrol duty, however." She paused, looking at the faces watching her. "I believe he did exactly what any of us would have done. The question now is, what do we do next?" A man in a business suit stood up. "Admiral, the Vex Corporation is powerful. If we interfere, they might retaliate against Earth. And the Concord has made it clear they don't want us involved in galactic affairs." Admiral Russell's eyes flashed. "Mr. Davis, when did humans start asking permission to do what's right? The Concord rejected us because they think we're dangerous. Perhaps it's time to show them that being dangerous can be a good thing when you're dangerous to the right people." She turned to the rest of the council. "I propose we send a rescue fleet to Terex. Not just military ships, but medical vessels, construction ships, everything we need to help these people." The vote was quick and unanimous. Within hours, ships from all over Earth were being prepared for the journey to Terex. On Terex, the situation was growing worse. The 3 Vex Corporation ships had launched fighters that were now attacking the horizon. "Shields at 60%, Tom reported as the ship shook from another hit. Jack held onto his chair. "Return fire, but try to disable, not destroy, and keep our position between them and the Nixari settlement." The horizon was fighting well, but it was still 1 ship against 3. Jack knew they couldn't hold out forever. On the planet below, Lisa was working with a group of Nixari volunteers. She had been teaching them how to use simple weapons and defensive tactics. "Like this," she showed Mari, helping her hold a makeshift shield made from scraps of metal. "Keep it up to protect yourself." Mari tried, but her thin arms trembled under the weight. "We are not made for fighting," she said sadly. "Neither were we once," Lisa replied. "Humans started as prey animals too. We learned to fight because we had to." A young Nixari named Trey approached them. Unlike the others, he seemed eager to learn fighting skills. "The mining drones are coming this way," he reported. "They detected our camp." Lisa grabbed her communicator. "Commander, we need backup. Drones approaching the settlement." Jack's voice came through, tense with the sounds of battle in the background. "Sending Tom with a team. Hold position." Tom and 5 crew members arrived in a small shuttle just as the mining drones appeared on the horizon. There were about 20 of them, large machines with cutting tools and drills designed to harvest minerals. "They don't even have real weapons," Tom said as he organized the defense. "They're just mining equipment programmed to remove obstacles." "That doesn't make them less dangerous," Lisa replied, watching as the drones approached, their metal arms gleaming in the sunlight. The battle was short but fierce. The humans used their weapons to disable the drones while protecting the Nixari. Tom led from the front, showing a courage that surprised even those who knew him well. When a drone broke through their line and headed for a group of Nixari children, Tom didn't hesitate. He jumped between them, firing his weapon even as the drone's cutting arm slashed across his chest. The drone fell disabled, but Tom collapsed too, blood soaking his uniform. "Tom!" Lisa ran to him, pressing her hands against his wound to stop the bleeding. Mari knelt beside them, her large eyes full of sorrow. Why did he do that? He could have moved away. Lisa looked up at her, tears in her eyes. "Because that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves." As they carried Tom back to the settlement for medical treatment, something happened in orbit around Terex. New ships appeared, dozens of them, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in a flash of blue light. On the horizon's bridge, a cheer went up. "Earth ships!" the communications officer shouted. It's the rescue fleet. Jack smiled for the first time in days. Open a channel. Admiral Russell's face appeared on the screen. Looks like you could use some help, Commander. You have no idea how good it is to see you, Admiral, Jack replied. The Earth fleet moved quickly, surrounding the Vex Corporation ships. Admiral Russell's voice boomed across all channels. Vex Corporation vessels, this is Admiral Diane Russell of the Earth Alliance. Your mining operation on Terex is now closed. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. The Vex ships, now outnumbered, had no choice but to surrender. As Earth ships landed on Terex, bringing medical teams, supplies, and security forces, something unexpected happened. A sleek silver ship arrived in orbit. It was unlike anything the humans had seen before, elegant and clearly advanced. Concord diplomatic vessel, the Horizon sensor officer reported. Jack frowned. Now they show up. The Concord ship sent a single shuttle to the surface. From it emerged 3 aliens, each from a different species but all sharing the same look of surprise as they saw humans everywhere, helping the Nixari. Their leader, a tall being named Consul Ben, approached Jack. Commander Reynolds, he said, in perfect English. The Galactic Concord has sent us to observe this situation. Jack couldn't hide his anger. Observe? These people have been dying for years while the Concord observed. We're not here to observe. We're here to help. Consul. Ben looked uncomfortable. This is most unusual. Humans involving themselves in matters that don't concern them. All suffering concerns us, Jack replied firmly. That's something the Concord might want to learn. As they spoke, more Earth ships arrived. The rescue fleet had grown to over 50 vessels of all sizes. It was the largest humanitarian mission in Earth's history. Consul Ben watched in amazement as humans unloaded medical supplies, built shelters, and treated injured Nixari. Why would you do all this for aliens you just met? He asked, genuinely confused. Because they asked for help, Jack said simply. And we could give it. The consul had no reply to that. He walked away, speaking quietly to his colleagues, occasionally glancing at the humans with a mix of fear and something that might have been respect. In the medical tent, Tom was recovering from his wounds. Mari sat beside him, singing a soft Nixari healing song. When Jack entered, Tom tried to sit up. Easy, Lieutenant, Jack said. You've earned some rest. Tom smiled weakly. Did we win, sir? Jack looked around at the Earthships landing, at the Nixarian humans working together, and at the Concord representatives watching it all with new understanding. Yes, Tom, he said. I think we did. And not just the battle. 3 days after the Earth fleet arrived at Terex, the situation changed. A new message reached the planet, broadcast on all channels. On the Horizon's bridge, Jack and his officers watched as a human face appeared on the screen. This is Director Paul Green of the Vex Corporation, the man said. His face was thin with cold eyes. Earth vessels, you are interfering with a legal mining operation. You have 24 hours to leave Terex before we take action. Admiral Russell, now on the planet's surface, joined Jack to view the message. Legal? She said with disgust. They're wiping out an entire species. Jack nodded. The Vex Corporation operates outside Concord law. They claim any uninhabited planet is fair game for resource extraction. But Terex is inhabited, Admiral Russell pointed out. Not for much. Longer if they had their way. Jack replied grimly. The Admiral's face hardened. Well, they'll have to go through us first. In orbit above Terex, new ships arrived. Not the sleek vessels of the Concord or the practical ships of Earth, but heavy, armored warships bearing the Vex Corporation logo. Consul Ben, the Concord representative, counted 15 large battle cruisers and dozens of smaller fighters. He approached Admiral Russell with concern. Admiral, he said, I feel I should warn you. The Vex Corporation has one of the largest private armies in the galaxy. Your humanitarian mission may be in danger. Admiral Russell gave him a hard look. And what will the Concord do about it? Observe some more? The consul lowered his eyes. We are not authorized to intervene militarily, only to record events for the Council's review. The Admiral shook her head in disbelief. Then stay out of our way. Humans may come from a death world, but at least we know the difference between right and wrong. Director Paul Green stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the Earth fleet surrounding Terex. Beside him, his chief of security appeared worried. "Sir, the Earth fleet numbers over 70 ships now. They've set up defensive positions around the planet." Green waved this away. "Earth ships are primitive compared to ours, and these are mainly civilian vessels, hospital ships, transports. They're not prepared for a real battle." He walked to the main view screen, studying the planet below. "Terex has the largest deposit of traxium in this sector. Do you know what that's worth?" "Billions." "Sir, trillions," Green corrected. "I didn't spend 3 years setting up this operation to have it ruined by some bleeding heart humans." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their main command ship first, then hit their ground forces. I want those mining drones back in operation by tomorrow." On Terex, Jack was helping organize the defense when the first attack came. Vex fighters screamed through the sky, firing at the Earth ships and the Nixari settlements. "All ships, defensive formation," Admiral Russell ordered over the comm system. "Protect the medical facilities and civilian areas." The Earth ships moved with surprising speed, forming a shield above the settlements. The battle in space was chaotic and fierce. Vex ships had better weapons, but Earth pilots flew with a daring that shocked even the watching Concord delegates. "They're flying into the asteroid field," Consul Ben exclaimed, watching an Earth ship lead 3 Vex fighters into a dense cluster of space rocks. "That's suicide." But the Earth ship weaved through the asteroids with incredible precision, while 2 of the pursuing Vex fighters crashed. The third pulled away, retreating. On the ground, Jack led a team defending the main Nixari settlement. Vex Corporation had landed troops, mercenaries from a dozen worlds, armed with advanced weapons. "Hold the line," Jack shouted as energy bolts struck around them. Beside him, humans and Nixari fought together. The Nixari, though not natural fighters, had learned quickly under human training. Mari, the Nixari elder, moved among the wounded, helping the human medics. "Your people fight like they have no fear of death," she said to Jack during a brief pause in the battle. Jack smiled grimly. "We fear it. We just don't let that fear control us." A new wave of mercenaries approached. Jack's team was outnumbered and outgunned, but they didn't retreat. "Why do they keep fighting when the odds are against them?" Consul Ben asked, watching from a safe distance with his fellow Concord delegates. One of the Concord scientists, who had been studying humans, answered thoughtfully. "It's their evolution. On Earth, creatures didn't survive by being the strongest, but by being the most adaptable. Humans can function under extreme stress. They can endure injuries that would kill most species, and they can make decisions that seem irrational but prove effective. This is why we classified them as dangerous," another delegate added. The scientist nodded. "Yes, they don't calculate odds, they defy them." In orbit, the battle was not going well for Earth. Several ships had been damaged, and the Vex forces were pushing toward the planet. Admiral Russell received a transmission from Director Green. "Admiral, you're losing ships. Surrender now, and we'll allow your forces to leave unharmed." Admiral Russell's reply was calm. "That's not going to happen, Director. We don't abandon people who need our help." Green's face showed his frustration. "You're throwing away lives for aliens you just met. It makes no sense." "To you, perhaps," the Admiral replied, "but it makes perfect sense to us." She ended the transmission and turned to her officers. "New plan, all ships pattern Omega. The Earth fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of defending, they attacked, driving straight at the Vex flagship. Several smaller Earth ships performed what looked like suicide runs, aiming directly at the larger Vex vessels. "They're going to crash into us," Green shouted on his bridge. But at the last moment, the Earth ships veered away, after launching all their shuttles and escape pods directly at the Vex ships. The small craft, barely detectable on scanners, attached themselves to the hulls of the Vex vessels. From these craft emerged Earth soldiers in spacesuits, cutting their way into the Vex ships. It was a boarding action, something not seen in space warfare for centuries. "This is madness," Green said as alarms blared on his flagship. "They're inside our ships." On the planet's surface, Jack led a special team toward the main control center of the mining operation. They had fought their way through mercenary lines, taking losses but never stopping. Inside the control center, they found Director Green, who had fled his compromised flagship. He was deleting files when Jack's team burst in. Green turned, his face showing his disbelief. "You! How did you get past my security?" Jack stepped forward, his uniform torn and bloodied. "We walked, one foot in front of the other," Green sneered. "All this for worthless birds? Do you know what the Traxium on this planet is worth to Earth? Your government would thank me if you'd just let me finish the job." "There are some things worth more than minerals," Jack replied. "Something the Concord and your corporation don't seem to understand." Green laughed bitterly. "Spoken like a true Deathworlder. So sentimental about life because you're so used to death." Jack didn't argue. He just stepped closer, his eyes hard. "The mining operation is over, Green. Surrender now." Green reached for a weapon, but Jack was faster. One quick movement and the director was on the floor, disarmed. "You're making a mistake," Green said as Jack's team secured him. "Earth needs that Traxium." "We'll find another way," Jack said firmly. "One that doesn't cost innocent lives." They led Green away. Jack looked out the window at the battle still raging in the sky. Earthships, many damaged but still fighting, continued to protect Terex. It was humanity at its best, fierce in defense of those who couldn't defend themselves, and, watching it all, the Concord delegates were learning a new definition of what it meant to come from a death world. 2 weeks after the battle, Terex was beginning to heal. The mining drones had been shut down. The Vex Corporation fleet had retreated after Director Green's capture. Earthships still orbited the planet, but now they brought supplies and helpers, instead of weapons. Jack stood on a hill overlooking the main Nixari settlement. What had once been a desperate refugee camp was now becoming a real town again. Earth engineers had helped build new homes. Earth doctors had treated the injured. Earth farmers had brought seeds that would grow in Terex's soil. Mari joined him, on the hill, her feathers catching the light of the setting sun. "Your people have done so much for us," she said. "How can we ever repay you?" Jack shook his head. "You don't need to repay us. That's not why we helped." "The Conquered does not understand this," Mari said. "They have been watching your people asking many questions. They cannot make sense of what you have done." Jack smiled. "Maybe they'll learn something." In the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Concord, far from Terex, an emergency session was being held. Representatives from 50 worlds listened as Consul Ben gave his report on what the media was now calling the Terex intervention. The humans committed their entire fleet to save an alien species they had just met, Consul Ben explained. They fought against superior forces and prevailed through tactics that no logical species would attempt. High Commander Vel frowned. "This only confirms that humans are dangerous and unpredictable, just as we have always said." "Perhaps," Consul Ben replied. "But is that necessarily bad? The Nixari are alive because humans are dangerous. Dangerous to those who would harm the innocent." A scientist named Dr. Leary stood up. She had been part of the observation team on Terex. "My colleagues and I have been studying human behavior. We've always classified them as Deathworlders because they evolved on a planet with high gravity, extreme weather, and many predators." She displayed images of Earth, its storms, volcanoes, and dangerous animals. "We assumed this made humans violent and aggressive, but we missed something important. Creatures who survive harsh conditions don't just develop strength, they develop cooperation and empathy." "Empathy?" asked a delegate. "What use is that?" "On a death world," Dr. Leary explained, "you cannot survive alone. Humans evolved to care for each other, to help the weak, to sacrifice for the group. What we saw as irrational behavior, risking their lives for strangers, is actually the very trait that helped them survive their harsh world." The hall was silent as the delegates considered this new perspective. Back on Terex, Admiral Russell met with Jack and his officers in the Horizons meeting room. Her face was serious. "The Galactic Concord has made a decision," she said. "They've officially recognized the Nixari as a protected species and ordered Vex Corporation to pay for damages." Tom, now recovered from his wounds, raised an eyebrow. That's surprisingly reasonable of them. Admiral Russell nodded. There's more. The Nixari have been invited to join the Conquered. Jack leaned forward. That's good news. They'll have protection. Now? They declined, the Admiral said. What? Jack was shocked. Why would they refuse? The door opened, and Mari entered the room. Because we have requested alliance with Earth instead, she said. Jack looked at her in surprise. Are you sure that's wise? The Conquered has hundreds of member worlds, advanced technology, resources we can't match. Mari's large eyes met his. The Conquered would accept us now because they feel guilty, not because they value us. They would study us, protect us perhaps, but they would not understand us. She moved to the window, looking out at the Earth and Nixari people working together below. When death was coming for us, she said softly, the advanced civilizations of the galaxy debated whether we were worth saving. Only Earth acted. Only humans understood that when someone calls for help, you answer. Not because it benefits you, but because it is right. Jack couldn't argue with that. 3 days later, a historic ceremony was held in the center of the rebuilt Nixari city. Representatives from Earth and the Galactic Concord gathered as Mari, now speaking fluent English without a translator, signed the alliance document with Earth. Consul Ben watched with a mix of disappointment and respect. After the ceremony, he approached Jack. You've changed things, Commander Reynolds, he said. For the first time in its history, the Concord is questioning its policies. Jack looked at him. Good. Maybe next time someone sends a distress signal, you won't ignore it. Consul Ben nodded slowly. Perhaps. The Concord has existed for thousands of years because we are careful, methodical. We avoid risk. But we have begun to wonder if perhaps we have become too comfortable. He gazed around at the busy scene, humans and Nixari working together, rebuilding what had been destroyed. You categorized us as dangerous because we evolved on a death world, Jack said. But you failed to see that creatures who survive harsh conditions don't just develop strength, they develop compassion. When you live knowing death is always near, you value life more fiercely. A lesson we are beginning to learn, Consul Ben admitted. In the weeks that followed, Earth established a permanent outpost on Terex, not to extract resources, but to protect and help rebuild. The alliance allowed for limited, responsible mining of traxium that would benefit both worlds without harming the environment or the Nixari. Jack, promoted for his actions, chose to remain as liaison between Earth and Terex. Tom joined him, remarking that perhaps humanity's true purpose wasn't to conquer the stars, but to ensure no cry for help went unanswered. The story of Terex spread throughout the galaxy. Some called it the Death Worlder Intervention. Others simply called it humanity's introduction to galactic society. Whatever the name, it marked a change in how the galaxy viewed Earth and its people. 1 month after the battle, Jack and Mari stood watching the sunset from the same hill. The city below was thriving now, with new buildings rising every day. The Conquered representatives left today, Jack said, but not before telling me something interesting. What did they say? Mari asked. A distress signal was detected from the Orion sector, a mining colony hit by asteroids. In the past, the Conquered would have sent observers to assess the situation before deciding whether to help. And now? Jack smiled. They've already dispatched rescue ships, and they've asked if Earth would be willing to send people too. Mari's eyes widened. Because we are good at rescue work? Because we're Death Worlders, Jack said. Turns out people who evolved facing danger are pretty good at handling emergencies. The Conquered is starting to see that as valuable. As they spoke, a communication officer ran up the hill. Commander, we're picking up a new distress signal. Different system, different species. Jack and Mari exchanged looks. Without hesitation, they both turned to head back to the command center. Looks like our work isn't done, Jack said. Mari nodded. And this time the Death Worlders won't be responding alone. Below them, humans and Nixari moved with purpose, already preparing to answer another call for help. And far above, in the great council chambers of the Galactic Concord, change was beginning. A new understanding of what it truly meant to be civilized. The galaxy was learning that sometimes it took creatures from a death world to truly value life. The end.